Hi everyone, Ming Zaleski here. I am here to demonstrate to you how to make my Vogue Women with lace. I call these my Nature's Brides. Thanks to J-Stars for giving it a really cool name. So let me show you how I got started. You will be needing some ripped out pages from the Vogue magazine or whatever magazine image you like. You will also probably need background, and these are just a couple pieces I've used Jolly Plate for printing. So these are just some Jolly Plate effect. I also got a piece of lace. This was actually a table runner that I cut up. Now we're cutting up the magazines. Now I'm going to cut these Jolly Plate prints into ATC size, which is 2.5 by 3.5. And it's really nifty to have a cutting board here. So I can just get the size I want. So that's 2.5. And now the 3.5. Let's see, how much do I want from here? 1, 2, 3.5. Do I want it this way? Yes, I do. Now I'm ready to glue on the face, and just to make it interesting, I don't always glue it right in the middle. So sometimes I'll leave some space on the top. Some I will put it on one side. You create whatever composition you want. And for this one, I think I'm going to want it to be slightly on the left. And this one, I will put it somewhere in the middle. But I kind of like the words that are showing here. So maybe I will do a little switch and move this one here. And that one right there. And I'll just use nothing fancy, just some glue sticks. And in the back, I'm just gonna trim and trim. Yes, I do enjoy making my Jolly Plate on the magazine page because they're colorful. And that was just a black acrylic paint on the Jolly to create a texture. To prepare for the lace. Alright, so I am trying to cut up some nice pieces for the lace. And since this lace is so humongous, I don't think I will want to use all of that. Sometimes you can find really neat compositions by just laying over the lace on the image, but no, I don't want to do it that way because this is too big. I'm going to be cutting smaller bits of pieces out of that. So the best way I find helpful is just go for it. So I'll be cutting up a part of this table runner. And just kind of go with your instinct. Just go for it. Most of my artwork is about intuition. Just do it intuitively. Same with drawing, same with writing, anything. Just do it. Don't hesitate, just do it. It helps. Trust your instinct. Now I have all these pieces of lace cut up. I'm going to start playing around the composition. Sometimes you do have to cut some more, and there are edges that you don't necessarily like, or there are parts of it that you want to cover it up, and that is all part of the game here. Lay around. Okay, I don't quite like that corner showing, so I might want to turn this around. Cover. I kind of like how the lace covers up a little bit of her face. It's very, very slight anyway. And over here. Let's see. Here. Maybe over across her face. Nope. Don't really like that. This one here. Kind of like how it goes across her forehead. Nice. One thing about my composition is I don't really like symmetry, but in a way, you do want to find a balance in the composition. So trying to make it not symmetric, asymmetric, but still find its balance somehow. So there. How's that? All right. Now back to glue. Now trimming. You don't have to trim it. I've seen some people that they would just leave the pieces hanging off the edge, and that is absolutely fine too. But for those of you who prefer not to have pieces sticking out, this is how I do it. You just layer them, glue them on, and then trim. Trim, trim, trim. Now the sewing part. I prepare myself a sewing needle and embroidery thread. This had to be a little thicker so it doesn't just break in the middle of it. Also, it will show up on the card. And it's just some embroidery thread that I got from a local fabric shop. You can probably get it from places like Walmart or Amazon. And since I'm sewing, usually I like to back the ATC with a piece of fabric so it doesn't just rip through the magazine paper. So on the back, I roughly had a piece of fabric roughly about the size of the ATC, but sometimes I like how the edges stick out, even all this beautiful piece of thread that's hanging around. And I want to show you how I did that. So here's what I did. See, this is just a perfectly straight edge, which I kind of try to avoid. So I will cut a little bit of slit and rip. And there, now you have this beautiful fringed edge on there. And I might use this later. So I don't want the fabric to be moving around while I'm sewing. So here I'm going to be gluing the fabric and the paper together. Just sort of hold them together. I don't have to worry about getting it down too perfectly. The beauty of this is the beauty is found within the imperfection. Isn't there a saying, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder? Some people like the style that I'm making and some people don't. So if you don't like it, don't do it. And now to the sewing. The style of sewing I chose is something I picked up. I actually don't know the name of the stitch. Thinking, well, I actually teach textile to my students, but I don't remember what to call this. It's somewhat related to blanket stitch. That's all I can say. So I'm going to start from the back. Start from the front if you want, but I'm going to start from the back. Just trying to think of a composition I want to create. So maybe I'll have something that looks like a branch coming out here, maybe a little bit here, maybe a little bit there. So I'll start from back here. Just poke it through. And now I want to form a branch that kind of forms a little U shape. Start there. And sometimes I pre-poke the hole just so I know where I should have the part come out. And this is probably, if you're new to stitchery, I would suggest you practice before you jump right into ATC. But I am a very practiced stitcher, textile artist. So if it seems the way I do is easy, but people always say, how do you always make things look so easy? And it's really not easy. That's because I'm very practiced. You will get there if you choose to do more. Now the beading. I am not that serious of a beader, but I have always done some beading since I was in college, and that just on and off sort of flirted with the material. So I don't use anything fancy. I don't use the beading threads or whatever they call them, and I'm not that serious a beader, but I do like the feel of it. So I bought myself just a pack of variety color, and I pick out the white of sequins. And the beads I chose, originally I thought, I want a little bit of this, that, and I saw this. This is kind of something I found in the same fabric shop. It's sort of a a bead soup. In a way, it's got a little bit of everything. So mostly it's filled with seed beads. These are tiny little white beads. And yes, it will be difficult to stitch with regular sewing needle because they have tiny little holes on them. So you want to be able to find a skinny needle. So I got on Amazon, of course, and found this really thin. Well, these are meant for beading, so these are beading needles. And because they're so thin, see how bent it was? It's turning to a swirl, like a bonsai or something. So I just thread it, and here we are. Start stitching, and I like using the sequins. So this is how I secure the back to make my string stays. Is I just find a loop somewhere in the back and group onto one of the little loop and use that as an anchor. And now the sewing. It's very sharp, so be very careful. I'm going to get a piece of sequins, thread it through. Oh, so pretty. And find myself a beads. I think I'm gonna go with a little one. And then stick back through the eye of the sequin. There. Again. Sometimes it's really hard to poke through the layers of paper and fabric, so I just use the same hole that I previously sewn with a stronger needle, using the same spot. That way I won't break my needles or poke myself. You do need to be careful when you're handling these sharp objects. Now the final touch. I'm gonna have to decide whether I want to burnish the edge with pink or black. So that's the dilemma. This one is more of a magenta color. That should bring out the pink that is in the Jolly Plate print. And the black, well, will make it a little more of a goth feel. So I'm gonna give that a try. Since you can take the black away once you put it on, I'm going to start with the pink and see how that looks. And most people use a little pad. I just directly use. You can see the pink pad is actually fairly dry, so the burnish is very slight. You can barely see it. So now I'm gonna add a little more black just to make it more interesting. I do like a little bit of a goth feel. You can see the black is instantaneously darken the edge, so I'm gonna do it more gently. Now, just so you know, this is a non-washable black ink pad. It's meant for fabric, wood, and paper. And because the black one is fairly new, you can see it has a lot of ink in it. That's why I'm doing it very sparingly as opposed to the pink ones. The pink one I did it very vigorously because it's kind of dried up. And there we go. The two new addition to my Nature's Bride. Thank you for watching.